A very good morning and welcome to this morning edition of the YES101's Visual Radio for the Newsfirst team. I'm Jed Abdeen. We start off with a look at your headlines.
Newsfirst headline.
And in headlines, Sri Lanka's debt deal, OCC urges swift private creditor agreement. Sri Lanka's debt deal sets global precedent, says Japan's finance minister. India backs Sri Lanka's economic revival with long-term investments. China pledges support for Sri Lanka's debt sustainability amid $4.2 billion deal. Bolivian police arrest leader of coup attempt. First semi-final of the ICC T20 Cricket World Cup between South Africa and Afghanistan underway. And in your top story this morning, the official creditor committee for Sri Lanka has announced that it expects Sri Lankan authorities will continue to engage with their private creditors to find as soon as possible an agreement on terms at least as favorable as the terms offered by the OCC. These engagements will ensure that the overall debt treatment granted to Sri Lanka is consistent with the IMF program parameters, it added in a statement. The OCC statement was issued late on Wednesday following the Sri Lankan government's announcement that a memorandum of understanding was inked in Paris, France, between Sri Lankan authorities and the OCC, co-chaired by France, Japan and India. On the 26th of June 2024, the OCC and Sri Lanka finalized the MOU based on the main parameters of the debt treatment agreed in November 2023. The progress on the MOU had enabled the IMF staff to present to the IMF Executive Board the second review of the Sri Lanka's EFF arrangement and thus opened the way of approval of the third disbursement under the arrangement. The OCC commends the Sri Lankan authorities for their continuous efforts in implementing the reforms necessary for their country's return to a sustainable path. The OCC now looks forward to receiving from Sri Lanka all information necessary for the OCC to ensure comparability of treatment. The OCC also expects that the Sri Lankan authorities will continue to engage their private creditors to find as soon as possible an agreement on terms at least as favorable as the terms offered by the OCC. And shifting your attention towards more local news. Japan has welcomed the agreement reached between Sri Lanka and the official creditor committee, co-chaired by India, Japan and France on the memorandum of understanding of debt restructuring for Sri Lanka. Japan has played a leading role in the process of debt restructuring for Sri Lanka, including by launching the OCC in April 2023, which is the first framework to coordinate between Paris Club countries and non-Paris Club countries on debt restructuring for middle-income countries. Japan's finance minister Suzuki Shunouchi said that it is a landmark achievement to finalize the MOU with Sri Lanka under this framework. And also in more local news, India said that it will continue to support Sri Lanka's economic recovery, including by promoting long-term investments in the country's key economic sectors. The Indian External Affairs Ministry in a statement said that the official creditor committee for Sri Lanka signing the memorandum of understanding on debt restructuring on the 26th of June 2024 is a milestone that demonstrates the strong progress made by Sri Lanka in stabilizing its economy and moving towards reform and growth. And shifting your attention towards more local news, China says that it stands ready to work with relevant countries and the international financial institutions to support Sri Lanka in realizing debt sustainability. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson speaking to reporters in Beijing said that the Export-Import Bank of China was the first to tentatively agree with Sri Lanka on debt treatment, which has been crucial for Sri Lanka to advance fiscal reform and win further support from international creditors. Sri Lanka signed debt treatment agreements in Beijing with China Exim Bank to restructure $4.2 billion of debt on Wednesday. The president's media division said that the framework agreement related to this was signed between Sri Lanka and China in Colombo, Sri Lanka. This restructuring provides significant debt relief, allowing Sri Lanka to allocate more funds to essential public services and resume concessional financing for critical infrastructure development, said the president's media division. State Minister Shehan Semasinghe shared the following on X. Quote, "We are pleased to announce that Sri Lanka signed a debt treatment agreement with Export-Import Bank of China to restructure $4.2 billion of its debt. This move is part of an ongoing effort to manage the country's financial challenges. The framework agreement for this debt treatment was signed between Sri Lanka and China in Colombo. While the debt treatment agreement is a crucial step for Sri Lanka in stabilizing its economy and addressing its debt crisis." End quote. And up next is international news.
International news.
And in news overseas, Bolivian police have arrested the leader of an attempted coup hours after the presidential palace in the capital La Paz was stormed by soldiers. Armed vehicles and troops had taken up position on Murillo Square, where key government buildings are located. They all later withdrew. The rebel military leader in charge had said he wanted to restructure democracy and that while he respected President Luis Arce for now, there would be a change of government. He is now arrested. President Arce condemned the coup attempt, calling on the public to organize and mobilize in favor of democracy. Up next is your update on sports.
Sports news.
And in sports, the first semi-final of the ICC T20 Cricket World Cup 2024 between South Africa and Afghanistan got underway today. Afghanistan won the toss and elected to bat first. Batting first, Afghanistan only managed to pose a total of 56 runs of 12 overs. Chasing a target of 57 runs, South Africa managed to get over the line, scoring 60 runs for the loss of 1 wicket at the end of 9 overs. South Africa were the first team to qualify for the final of the ICC T20 Cricket World Cup 2024. And with that, we wrap up this morning edition of the YES101's Visual Radio. For the Newsfirst team, I've been Shoaib Abdin. Thank you for watching. Take care.